Welcome along to Matchday Live. Good evening, Manchester City fans, and welcome to the Etihad Stadium. So great to be back with you for this tantalising Premier League clash as we welcome Leicester City to the Etihad Stadium. And to my left, we've got Shaun Wright-Phillips and Will Greenwood. Good evening, gents. Will, so great to be with you on the show. What a treat to have you here. How are we feeling about tonight's game?
What a treat for me. Thank you.
No, pleasure's all
Thank you for inviting me. My uncle Ian and cousin Jimmy. It's been a long story since Ricky Villa scored against us in '81. We were City fans. My cousin was my hero. And I was gutted. I thought, no, I need to back the team that he backs because my dad was a rugby player. So the first football introduction was City in those days. He used to come down here. So I've come all these years, and I thought it was like an April Fool. Do you want to come on Man City? I don't think you'd be too young. There was a programme called Quantum Leap, right? Where the bloke at the start of the programme ends up in a really strange position, and it's on top of a ski lift.
Nice, okay.
He's got to then work out, what am I doing here? I sort of feel like, hi.
You're on Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Well, bed yourself in, because this is going to be the first of many now.
Great.
You won't let
I'm
us go.
so excited, genuinely. Literally, I've looked calm, heart rate's 175.
No.
Thank you.
We don't bite. Me and Shaun will look after you. Shaun, great to be back with you. It's been a minute. Important that we get 3 points tonight, especially at home, do you think?
It's important. It's as important as every other game for me. I think, like, you know what the squad's like in general. They go out to try and get 3 points in every game, and I don't think they'll be any different in this game. I just think, from the outside perspective, we need the 3 points more than ever because everybody's thinking about Champions League positions, whereas I think that mentality is to don't think about Champions League positions, go out, pick up the 3 points and kind of go on to the next one. So I should imagine with what player we have available that it will be an exciting game today.
Well, speaking of players available, let me run you through this starting 11. By the way, as well, we came on a little bit late because our youth team were in action in the UEFA Youth League. Sadly went out almost basically in a last-minute goal from AZ Alkmaar, winning 1-0, which knocked us out. Was their only shot on target as well. So commiserations, but amazing from our boys in blue there as well to get that far to the quarter-finals. Back to tonight then. So we have Ederson in goal, a back four of Nunes, Diaz, Gvardiol and O'Reilly comes in to make a start after that brilliant super sub performance against Bournemouth in the FA Cup. Moving into midfield, we've of course got Nico, new signing in January, alongside Ilkay Gundogan. And I'm going to put in there, I think, Jack Grealish, because then our forward three, we've got two wingers in the form of Savinho, Doku, and of course, after that injury news about Erling Haaland, Omar Mamouche completes our forward three. We can see the boys in blue, Pep arriving there at the Etihad Stadium around 20 minutes ago. James McAtee is on the bench, as is that man, Oscar Bob. I know City fans are very excited to see him back on a pitch. We'll, I guess, start with the big news that came out after the game against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Haaland with the injury, but it does make way for Marmouche.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not necessarily viewed as a contact sport, but it's super physical. Football, and over the course of a season you're going to pick up niggles, you're going to pick up knocks. Very few lads in top level sport will go through a whole season and not pick anything up. So that's the whole purpose of the squad, and we've always been blessed with a pretty deep and powerful squad, and it's always disappointing, you know, not when the main man isn't playing, but at the same time it's another opportunity for another kid to come in and play 4 or 5 games on the spin, which they probably weren't expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that man is Marmouche. We're assuming he'll play down the middle. Shaun, I don't know if you saw much of him before he came. Obviously, he's got a hat-trick early doors in the City shirt. Looks a real threat, and he knows where the goal is.
He definitely knows where the goal is. I'll tell you that much. He's quite, for me, enjoyable to watch. I've heard mixed views and opinions on him, but I've got nothing but praise from him. His movements, his decisiveness, that when he does get half a yard, he seems to find what he wants to do in terms of whether it's a shot or try and play a creative pass. But what I do like is that not only can he run in behind it, he will also come short and try and link the players up and open up space for wingers in general to maybe get in behind him. So
he finds space, and you know, whether you play a girl playing netball or playing hockey or rugby, all sport
Yeah.
is very similar. If you find space, you attract defenders. If you don't attract defenders, you get the ball, you make things happen. You attract defenders, you make space for others. And what I like about it, there's a really famous ice hockey quote, Gretzky: skate to where the puck's going to be, not to where it is right now. And just go find places. And he looks a really clever player.
Yes.
It looks like, I know, in about 30 seconds' time, with the way we're moving around at the back, that 7 times out of 10, that ball's going to end up there.
Yes.
I'm just going to find myself then. Looks effortless, but that's what the great players do.
They do, and off that then, because as well, like you say, you can attribute that to most sports. Can you coach that, or is that just an innate ability that some players or some sports people have?
Yeah, so I think, for me, it's necessarily coaching. It's more about asking questions of players.
Yeah.
So if you coach and say, go do that, it's a little bit like we were talking before. If I tell you, this is how you do maths, you'll go, what are you on about, Greens? It's not. If I say, look, 2A plus B equals 23 and B is 7, then work out what A is. Let's take B. I'm getting too complicated. But my point is, if you ask a player and say, look, right now, pause, stop, whistle, no one move, where do you think a good place to be might be?
Yes.
You tell him it's there, it doesn't go in. If you go ask them great questions. I know Mike Sheeran, who's on earlier, who's at Blackburn, has worked with Brian Ashton, a really clever, he's a rugby coach, but he goes into all sorts of sporting teams. And I think all the great coaches aren't dictators, aren't authoritarians. I mean, some do succeed in that capacity, but most that get the best out of players, who players talk about in years to come, are coaches who ask the right questions and give you sort of parameters and then freedom within there just to go and toy around and work on it and go. They might give you, in rugby, they give you a move and then you go, okay, well, I think that works on paper, but if you're being hunted down by a South African who's 6'5", 19 stone and runs 110.3 and wants to decapitate you, I'm just going to slide down it a little bit and move on to here. And then that might have him like Top Gun. You hit the brakes, he flies right by, you nip in on the backside of him.
Yes.
And you're in on that. So I think all sports are the same. The great coaches, yes, you can create situations whereby players can discover how to get there.
Yes.
Less so, go stand there. In that sort. Does that make sense?
Makes complete, very much sense. There we go. It's like being back in school there, Will. Thank you, mate. Well, it's interesting.
My new teacher.
There we go. Even Shaun's there. It makes sense. But off that, I can couple it with, and we've got a lovely clip here from Savinho, because he's also spoke about how Pep has allowed that. Obviously, he's coming into a very rigid system, but also the space, as you said, to express himself, and even when he gets it wrong, to go again. And that's so important for a player like Savinho, who's had a real impact since joining Shaun.
But is it a rigid system? I think people come under the thought that it actually is. But then when you look at your players like your Bernardo Silvas or your Kevin De Bruyne's, or in many ways when Jack plays sometimes, Jack, unless he's told to stay high and wide, it's those two first players that name play with no position.
Yes.
You see Bernardo getting the ball off the centre-backs or in the centre-back position, getting the ball off the keeper. Kevin's hardly ever in the centre midfield, especially when he's going to deliver the ball his ways either side. So it's a bit like Will said, like the players are clever enough to find out where the space is to be able to hurt and affect the game in positive ways, and I think that's what they've always been good at.
Yeah, it's where they excel. Got a lovely clip actually here from Savinho. Of course, you might remember this fixture earlier on in the season. He was the man who put the ball in the back of the net.
Conta pouquinho da sua trajetória, né? O seu primeiro contrato você fez com 16 anos, né?
Sim.
E como que foi a emoção, assim, de...
A emoção é de que, tipo assim, se tornei um jogador não profissional, sabe? Agora eu vou poder tirar minha mãe do trabalho dela, dar uma vida melhor para minha mãe, que eu morava com minha mãe, né? Então a sensação é essa, de querendo ou não, tipo, conseguir virar um jogador profissional. Agora eu tenho um contrato. Antes não tinha contrato. Antes, se caso acontecesse alguma coisa, machucasse, por muito tempo, eu não tinha contrato também, então acho que quando eu assinei o contrato, eu acho que agradecer a Deus, agradecer minha mãe por ter sempre comigo e tirei ela do trabalho imediatamente.
Anyway, City come forward with Foden. Foden tries a shot from distance, parried, and then Savinho! Foden with the shot, Stalacic with the save, Savinho drills in the rebound, he scores his first ever Manchester City goal. Pep Guardiola's City take the lead.
Experiência muito boa, incrível, né? Acho que a sensação única. Estava buscando bastante esse gol para ela. Fiquei muito feliz mesmo. Meu primeiro gol também pelo Manchester City e o primeiro gol para ela. Acho que Ela veio para somar, para me dar bastante sorte aqui no City também. E que eu posso fazer bastante gol para ela também.
E ela tá dormindo? Nasceu ontem, mas...
Certeza tá dormindo.
É?
Minha esposa mandou mensagem aqui, uma foto dela já dormindo.
Uhum. Vai mudar muita rotina agora?
Nada, minha família tá aqui para
pra ajudar.
Suporte, tá?
Uhum.
Also, those eagle-eyed City fans will know he wasn't in the squad at the weekend. That was because that daughter he's speaking about there did enter the world. So massive congratulations to Savinio and his partner on the birth there of his child. Now, Jack Greasy, but I just wanted to ask you quickly, Will, because he spoke about his first professional contract. Do you remember that moment happening for you as well? I guess it's quite an important. It's that
the footy lads get it so young. I mean, I grew up. I was a foreign exchange trader for HSBC in the city. We were an amateur sport.
Yeah, wow.
And we turned training Tuesday and Thursday nights, like playing like non-league football. And you did it because you loved it. And then there was this World Cup in 1995 that happened in South Africa. And Jonah Loma was there, and Nelson Mandela. It was a really unifying moment for South Africa, the Rainbow Nation. And Mandela wore Francois Pienaar's shirt, number 6, to give him the shirt, and Francois Pienaar could not have been more Afrikaans, which is that this coming together of two and the love that they showed, and it was and I think all the TV guys just were like, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
Why is this not professional? Bang! It went professional overnight.
Mad, wow.
So I was going to give up rugby and stay in the city, and I had a bet. My dad said, Don't be the bloke at the end of the bar who 20 years later says you should have have a 2 years. So I went and saw the boss and said, can I have a sabbatical for 2 years? And the bet is, if I don't play for England within 2 years, can I have my old job back? Like the old Tudor Chris advert, maybe, son,
nice.
maybe. but I got the gig, played rugby for England for 11 years, and I sort of never went back to the city. But I remember my first contract was at Leicester.
Wow.
And we were laughing about it earlier. I mean, my brother in Leicester City, it's a great night for me to be here tonight. I took my missus to Atletico Madrid at the old Filbert Street for our first date, and we had this lad in full kit next to us. And we were like, it's a bit odd.
Bit much.
Bit odd. Go for a bovril at half time, come out, he's on the pitch, he's the world keepy-uppy champion. He comes back, he gets a hero's welcome. Comes from zero, a hero. We're looking at him, why is a 50-year-old bloke in full kit? You're completely wrong then, kid.
That'll be why.
That's why you're the world keepy-uppy champion.
There we go, lovely. Some great connections there then for tonight.
Yeah.
Will. There we go. Just saw as well, actually, we just saw Jack Grealish coming out. Now, and tell me if I'm wrong, Shaun, but I'm thinking he'll be maybe the player in behind Marmouche, or might even play him the false 9 and Marmouche in 10. You've got Docker and Savinio on, assuming he'll be in the middle, which I always think is quite exciting because we're always, City fans craving to see Jack a bit more in the middle.
Yeah, for me, that's the way it seems like it should go, but this is Pep we're talking about, so you never actually really know. So hopefully he is in there, and it'll be interesting to see how him and Marmouche actually link up, because Marmouche does like to come and be involved in the game as well, and I want to see as if he comes this way, does Jack run beyond him, or does he kind of pull a little bit wider to create that space, because they know, Leicester know, City are going to try and play through the middle.
Yes.
They do have wingers on, and that is an option if you suffocate them in the midfield, but if they can get it through the middle and slide those little cute passes in, it's his easier option for him to go, considering the big man's not playing.
Yes.
Crosses are going to be few and far, I would imagine, especially high ones. So that for me would be the best way I see it going.
They're making that way. Well, let's get the thoughts then of our commentary team today. Alistair Mann is with Andy Morrison. They are now pitchside, giving us their thoughts, and they'll also bring up some Leicester team news.
Yeah, welcome to Pitchside, where I'm joined by former City captain and my regular co-commentator, Andy Morrison. Andy, great result on Sunday into the semi-finals of the FA Cup. 6 changes tonight, but what impressed you most about the performance on Sunday?
I thought it was very controlled. We created a lot of opportunities, and it began to look, there was patterns of play that were familiar to us, to go away to a team that have had a great season and are still having a great season, and dominate the game and be very much in control of the game. At no period did we look like, we're outnumbered, we're being run over. I just felt very comfy in watching the game. Obviously, the latter stages, at 2-1, it's always going to be, you're a little bit edgy, but it didn't feel that way.
What were your thoughts when City switched things at half-time and Nico O'Reilly, who keeps his place, I say keep his place, came on as a sub, but keeps his place. What was it about the changes that particularly made you think the game changed or seemed to tip in our favour?
I see it in two ways, Ali. Of course, like Nico's brought up a lot of energy there, but I'm not sure how Bournemouth countered what he did, because every time he broke at pace, I wasn't sure who was supposed to be tracking him. I wasn't sure whose responsibility it was to pick him up as he crossed the halfway line. And it seemed very easy. Whether that was, a bit neglectful on their part, and I think they were punished for it, because Nico seemed to be, whether they switched off, not too much detail on him, but he seemed to have the run of the park, and he caused chaos in that initial 10-15 minutes after half-time. And they didn't deal with it.
We're assuming that he'll be at left back tonight, and we're therefore assuming that Joško Gvardiol will be left centre half alongside Ruben Diaz. What did you like about that centre half pairing in the second half?
I like the balance. I really like the balance. I like, a left footer. I mean, Pep spoke this season about he's wasted as a centre half. He offers too much. He brings too much energy, too much quality, too much guile. He's inventive. He scores goals. So, for him to be tracked as a centre half in a back four, even if it was in a three and he was left-sided, he can join in. But I just love the balance, when they look so comfy. And as I said earlier on, Ali, I don't think we looked in any sort of trouble.
Well, we're facing the Leicester team tonight, who've lost 7 games in a row. They haven't scored in their last 5 matches, but this is their lineup. They've actually named the same 11 that lost in their last game before the international break. So, Mads Hermansen in goal, then it's James Justin, Wout Faes, Connor Cody, Wilfred Ndidi, Jamie Vardy, Bilal El Kanous, Victor Christiansen, Patson Daka, Boubakary Soumare and Luke Thomas. Looks to me like a back 5 with a couple of wing backs. On the surface, 7 defeats in a row, didn't score in 6 of those 7 games. Seems as though it should be a formality, but there's a little bit of anxiety in you at the moment. Why is that?
Ali, it's a time of year, and I just think where they are in the league, I just think there's a freedom. There's a real freedom. You see players express themselves when they go 2-0 down. They start looking for the ball they want to play. There's no pressure on them. They're coming here expecting to lose, and that's very dangerous. The last game that stand out for me similar was when Southampton went to Liverpool, when they were in a terrible run. And Liverpool had all sorts of problems against them, ended up winning the game 2-1, but Southampton had better stats on the day. So with the freedom to come and play here, it's going to be dangerous. That could go against you if you go 2-0 down. You're in all sorts of trouble then. But there's a freedom, and I you know me, I can be pessimistic at times, but I just feel that they can come here today, go and express themselves, no pressure on. The manager will give them the freedom of the park, and that's dangerous.
Of course, they've got the evergreen Jamie Vardy up front. We know that that ability he has to sprint away from the last defender. Is that, for you, the main threat tonight, even though he's 38 years old now?
Yeah, they have a set on, they're dangerous on set plays. They've got great delivery. And of course Vardy, but it's not the Vardy of 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I'm saying that sort of touching wood because I know how dangerous he can be, Ali. But, there's energy in the team, there's quality. It's just, I think if we dictate the game and we keep the pace really high, we move the ball quickly and don't allow it to become slow and methodical, that will suit them. So keep the pace up, ask questions of them, and eventually I think they'll tire.
And in a word, still a City win though?
It's still a City win, yeah. But, it'll be how clinical we are, whether we take them chances, because we'll totally dominate the ball tonight. Even with a slightly different make-up to our back 4. Núñez at right back and Nico at left back. It's slightly different again, a back 4 that we haven't seen, so apart from the second half in the week. So, yeah, but I expect us to become... But, these can be difficult games.
The thoughts there of Andy Morrison, my co-commentator tonight. Remember, don't forget to download the app, and me and Ange will bring you the commentary blow by blow throughout the evening. With that, let's go back to the studio.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Andy, as well. Remember, download the Manchester City app. That is where you can hear them both on your commentary team. Just mentioned it there, and we were speaking before about some previous games. Well, Jamie Vardy, now key 8 goals he scored. 7 from his last 21 shots on target. key threat for them today, and we do know he loves to put the ball in the back of the net against City.
Yeah, well, it's what a fairy tale 2016 was, and I remember you sort of felt the moment that they could do it. He scored an absolute screamer. Here, the batters took 2 goals off us late on. The challenge, as with all things in life, is if your super strength is out and out foot speed, and you lose an element of your foot speed, it's really difficult to become a Jedi at something else,
Yes.
a ball. The greats manage to transform themselves, and again, talking about other sports, so a player like Brian O'Driscoll, who people may have heard of, the Irish centre, it was all about foot speed, picked up injuries, changed, became a playmaker, so moved from a Vardy and then suddenly became a Silva. You know, but very few people can do that. And so that's why obviously he plays slightly less games than he used to. But in his pomp, he was an absolute ledge for what he did for that club, and he's still their key strike threat. Those numbers, I think he said 1 in 3, 7 in 21, are decent return for a team who can't seem to beat an egg at the moment.
No, and is it off that, how they've struggled, because you said on paper, Shaun, good team. Where do you think they've kind of just struggled generally? And obviously, what have you made as well of Ruud van Nistelrooy?
It's one of those teams, isn't it, really, that think they can, in many ways, come from the Championship and play the exact same style of football in the Premier League without heightening the calibre of players. Like, I think Burnley learnt from it. We're watching Southampton go through the same thing now. And they're getting beaten by, a lot of the times, their own mistakes, as well as teams dominating them, but most of their goals have come through individual errors that they can't come back from. Because, as you know, if Vardy's not scoring, nobody else is really helping him add to that. So it's a lot of pressure. The appointment in terms of Ruud, I found it a bit strange at the time. I didn't think it needed to happen, because I feel, not just me, but there was a lot of other people out there just assumed the 3 that came up were going to go down because a few of the teams in the Premier League had a bit too much quality in the top end that could get them out of that situation, which seems to be the way now. So effectively, his appointment could have come at the end of the season and just kind of left the man in charge to see what he could do, because realistically, it's no different, or if not, it's even worse now than when they sacked him. And in hindsight, they're most probably sitting there thinking, why did we do this now? Why didn't we?
It's one of the times I sort of feel, I get that loyalty is a tough word in sport, right? Especially when there's billions at stake, right? But as a from an outside in support, I just go, the amount of times a manager does extraordinary things in the Championship, brings them up, and 3 months in, you're like, you're not here if it's not him. And I get it, you're just not here. What's short-sighted, as myopic view of the world? And you go, did you not see what he did with that group of players at that? And I just think, more, do you say, give the geezer the season? They only might go back down, and they'd probably go back down with someone else who comes in. So that's just one of my frustrations with football sometimes, with the manager rotation. I get at the top end things have changed, but the bottom end, managers who bring teams up, give him till February, March, April, ideally May to have a crack. Well, those teams aren't there without those managers.
No, and you'll both know as well, it takes time at top level sport to embed, your, I guess, system, the way you want to play, the familiarity with the players. And then you look at a Nottingham Forest who's stuck with a Nuno, and then you see kind of the benefits. So you'd like to think maybe you'd look at them examples, Shaun, and hopefully it might change the trend that we're currently in, because the turnover is quite ridiculous.
It's really bad. I think it's bad what's going on with the managers, and like me and Will said, they definitely need time. But I think even people say, well, certain clubs can't afford to buy these sort of players, but you can loan them. You don't necessarily have to buy them. You can do what Nottingham Forest did when they first came up. For their first 2 years, I think they had 30 odd players through the doors, just through loans, just to try and get that stability within the Premier League, even though they scraped it a couple of times. And look at the benefit of them now. Because now players are enjoying playing there, and the players are attracted to go in there because of the way they play and how exciting they look.
It really is. Back to Leicester, and we know this is for any team that comes here, very difficult proposition today. I mean, we're assuming they're probably going to try and play and hit us on the counter a bit, you reckon, today?
Put 64 players behind the ball.
Yeah.
And wait and bounce and spring and go and attack City where at times we've looked vulnerable, which is against speed on the break, and that's why Vardy's there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think you need to be some sort of visionary to understand how they'll play. The danger for them is if you do concede 1 or 2, then you've got to go chase it. But City will know they'll have to be patient.
Yeah.
And look, you watch a lot more of City than I do. I watch them as often as I can. I just feel at times in transition, not quite as sharp to go bang, 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 get it in the right area and have a whack.
Yes.
It's just a little bit, let's score the perfect goals sometimes and move and run around, and then players get set. And there's some decent defenders in this league. I feel we go back to that word pace. I just felt we've lacked a little bit of pace at times about what play. That's not meaning I want to pick 11 lads who can run the 109.7 seconds. I need just faster ball movement.
Yeah, and is it that thing of like even what we're saying that maybe Marmoush does bring a little bit more, which is when the chance is there, have a go, pull the trigger.
The directness.
Being direct, that's the word.
For City, it's key. In many ways, it's hard to select a squad because there's so many fantastic players and you never know what you're going to come up against. But with a team that's always going to defend low, I always found in playing, watching that if that team's a low block, you need somebody to commit somebody or somebody to take a shot, because then people start stepping out. When those people start stepping out, that's when those spaces start opening up. So your likes of Grealish or your Mamouches can get into. And if the wingers start going past people, then he's going to be calling for help.
Yeah.
So then that means we've got somebody free in the middle of the park that we can move the ball along to. And everyone starts having to shift for, say, Leicester, for example.
Yes.
And that's when spaces and players start becoming free for City to actually do what they can do. But like we said, at times it's been quite labour.
So in our sport, we call them dog legs or disconnects.
Okay.
In D, where someone goes hard, someone jumps out of the D, bang, you then got space in behind there, and that's what all you're trying to do on our game. Trying to make someone who's in a lovely front five in front of you, get someone to turn their hips and step in on the wrong bloke. What's the vocabulary? What are you looking for?
We're looking for pockets.
Pockets.
Especially the way
so someone
City
steps
play
out and
and they open.
We call it a dog leg.
Yeah.
And a disconnect in behind. Pockets.
You call it no way.
You're looking for dog legs in, and therefore dog legs not a straight line, not connected, and there's space in behind the knee of the dog.
Yes.
Like we're going on dog. What sort of dog is it? I don't know. But doesn't matter. Or Inspector Clouseau, that's not my dog.
Very good.
The grey line.
Very good. Yeah. And it is that, and then being on the same wavelength there as a team, and when that space or that little chink is created, you all jump on it.
Foot on the throat, go flood the channel.
Yeah.
The All Blacks, man, when they get in behind it, you think there's only room for 2 or 3 players. They'll send 8 players down a 5-metre channel.
Wow.
And it just rip you open through the middle. And it sounds a bit brutal, but people want to go wide. It's pretty. Actually, even the top teams have that wide ability, but when they absolutely tear you apart, it's super direct. 1, 2, 3, smash, bang, have it. You got who's marking who? Got no idea. Where have they gone? Don't know.
Yeah. We're hoping for more of that from City today. Then fingers crossed. Now, just going to take a slight pause from the gaming because I would love just to tell you about something incredibly special that I had the privilege to be a part of. It was with Xylem, who of course are one of Manchester City's sponsors and their main partner for water and smart technology, and Manchester City's Global Foundation, where we went and visited Tacloban City in the Philippines. I was alongside Jolene Lescott, and it was to see the champions and winners of this year's Water Champions project. The young leaders over in Tacloban, they hosted this brilliant event around World Water Day, which involved young people playing football, but then teaching them about the safety around water and helping them be water smart. I won't say any more, but we've got this lovely little film here that I've been so excited to show you, so you can see what we got up to and the brilliant work that the City Global Foundation and Xylem do. Welcome to Tacloban City, the winners of this year's Water Champions project. We're here to meet the brilliant, inspiring young leaders who are using football as a device to connect with their community and inspire action around the water challenges that they and their communities face. I'll also be joined by Manchester City legend and former player Jolene Lescott. He's here to meet the brilliant young leaders and also take part in all the events that are taking place today around World Water Day.
Very humbling experience to participate, and honoured to play a part in it. Yeah, coming out here and seeing the dedication and the selfless acts is remarkable.
To kick things off here at this World Water Day event, we are going to begin by doing a coastal clean-up here alongside the mangroves. We're then going to plant our precious mangrove trees.
Planting mangroves is very essential, especially those families living along with the coastal area.
As we say it in Xylem, sustainability is really at the core of our business. Tacloban, being the regional center of Eastern Visayas region, is really also frequently affected by water-related issues, such as, for example, flooding. The mangroves that we have just planted today will eventually be part of those natural barriers that the community will be able to really appreciate in the future.
Right, now it's time for some football. Let's head inside.
We use football to educate children on water issues. The most rewarding part in today's event was seeing the smiles of the children after the event, how they receive the medals, certificates, and awards.
It's amazing to come and see the enthusiasm from the kids. And we often talk about football being the universal language, but it truly is. The smiles on the faces, the enthusiasm. The message I would say is keep doing what you're doing. You often bring a smile to my face and make me very welcome. So keep acting selfless on behalf of Man City, Xylem, and the great work that you're doing.
This project is really important because we're here today to actually shine a light on the issues that are affecting the island around water. So we've come here with Jolie and Lescott to energise and inspire the project, and also to bring attention to the issues that are faced here on the island.
What we hope to achieve with our water filtration workshop is to share knowledge to the students so that they will know the importance of a clean water supply.
We've been able to give knowledge to these children so that they can help and contribute to their communities.
What a day it has been, from mangrove planting to football to water workshops. A huge thank you to Xylem, Jolie and Lescott and Fund Life International.
Visit alltoplayfor.com and play your part.
Do make sure you visit alltoplayfor.com. A massive thank you again to Xylem and Man City, and to all the brilliant community in Tacloban City and their young leaders. Now, they were one of 10 cities that took part in the World Water Day Challenge, so you can check what the other 10 cities got up to over on the Manchester City website. Just have a little look on there to see all the brilliant stuff that people are doing around the world. Right, not long to go. It's been flown through the show. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about a super sub who has now kept his place in the starting 11. Young Nico O'Reilly, of course. Not a left back by trade, Shaun, but has come on there. I mean, he came on, changed the game against Bournemouth, got man of the match, 2 assists. Hell of a player we have on our hands, and you've been so impressed with his growth he's made from pre-season.
I was lucky enough to obviously be on pre-season with City. I think it was me and Jolien, and we watched the game, his first game. I think we played Celtic last season. Yeah. It was that opening pre-season game, and he obviously, without a lot of the first-team players there, started amongst a lot of young kids who really did well as well. But you could see what he had, but you could also see that it was a reality check for him in terms of physicality, how quick that he had to think and what he had to do. But the speed that he learned on, that trip to improve every game, was astonishing. It was incredible. His growth towards the Barcelona game, what he was doing in that game again there, he was phenomenal again. And then he's got his chance within the first team. And you could see every game, for me, he was getting better and better. And I know he wants to be more of a, not a Yaya Toure sort of attacking sort of player, but in that midfielding area, playing more forward rather than back. But to be able to do what he's doing with his plays number 6, he plays at the same level. Yeah. And then to play in many ways a foreign position for him, which is left back, he's doing that tremendously well as well. So for me, if he keeps improving at this rate, he's going to have so many strings to his bow.
And we know how important the physicality is, particularly in the Premier League. And actually, obviously, we said he's been coming in at left back, but you're probably earmarking him. Well, you're thinking, well, further down the line, he could very much hold that centre midfield position. I mean, he's tall, he's strong.
Frame on him.
Yeah.
Got a frame on him. You know he's young and the time will fill out. And as Shaun's discussing there, you got the Akbar game, the lads have lost, and some will make it through and some won't. That's the brutal reality of sport. And what you've got to keep doing as managers is just keep giving them just raise the bar a little bit, like create a vacuum, and do they fill it?
Yes.
Some can't, and it's like, you know what, it's not for me, I'll go and do something else. And then others just rise to the challenge, and no matter what level or how difficult you think the challenge might be, some kids just bang, after 5 minutes you're going, why have we not picked him earlier?
Yes.
But it's just about finding that right time and giving them the right chance, and then letting them run with it. And he's grabbed it with both hands. He was, game changer on the weekend. That's a mega win for us. A mega win for us, where you're thinking, what we're chasing this season. We're chasing 5th and 4th in Champions League qualification. Where's the silverware? And he's kept us in it by having a magnificent 45 minutes, just by not doing what Pep's told him to do. Pep's given him the opportunity of just going and grabbing the chance. It's great to see it. Whatever team you're watching, when young kids grab those opportunities, you go, fair play, kid, fair play.
And actually, off that as well, it's probably important mentioning, there's always the talk, isn't there, about, going out on loan, particularly when it comes to City, the pathway to the first team. Phil's created the pathway, and we've seen it, in the likes of even young Rico Lewis as well, who's on the bench. But to see another one that has not gone on loan, that stayed around the first team, and I think Bernardo spoke about this when he gave him the Man of Match award, saying it's a credit to him that he stayed and learned. And as you said then, when the chance comes, even if it's not in his position, he seized it to show what he can do.
I agree with both.
Okay.
I think in terms of what Silva said, that is right.
Yes.
And it is a massive credit to Nico. But we're never ever going to know whether he was allowed to go on loan. Because when I was coming through at City, teams came for me to go on loan and they got shut down. So a lot of people won't know that outside of football, and that could be the same in today's market, unless it's made publicly known that, yes, we're interested in him, but no, Manchester City have said no. So we don't really know what's happened.
The ins and outs.
But for me, the bottom line to it is he stayed.
Yes.
Just like Phil and other young players, Oscar Bob. And they've come through it stronger, not only mentally, but better players.
That's a manager's call, right?
Yeah.
You see a kid and you go, he's straight in. Get him trained with the first team, he's 17 years old, 16 years old, he's fine. Then there are others you look at, same in all sports again. You look at them and you go, so in our game, rugby, the props, the big lads, numbers 1 and 3, you tend to mature when you're 27, 28. If you stay here at Northampton or Leicester Tigers, you're going to hold tackle pads or not. You've got to go and play down at Chinner. You've got to play on the road where there's 400 people, if that, watching, a couple of dogs. You're clearing the muck off the pitch before, which is what happens in lower league rugby. And you've got to go and get schooled. Come across a 35-year-old veteran prop who goes, all right, kid, I hear you might be playing for England in a few years, but today I'm just going to put your spine through your brain in a scrum, and you're going to learn it's not quite
that's
right.
what it's about.
You're not quite ready yet. I think you're ready. You're moaning at your mum and dad that you're not playing, but I think you'll find out today there's still a little bit more dedication. Whereas others at 19 are just like bulls and go, Ellis Genge, get him in. And that's the managers. They live and die by these decisions of picking the one or two who at 17 go, run out of the Etihad, and the others go to Preston North End.
Well, and a great example of that, and obviously it's sad for us because he was, but Morgan Rogers gave a great interview and said exactly that. He said, the player you're seeing of me now, I wasn't at that point at City, and I had to go away from City to build up to then get to where I'm at now, and that's case in point of what you said there. It was a really great
What's the lad who went to Sheffield United, who's on the bench tonight? McAtee. Like, I've got Sheffield United fans, they just go, he was absolutely unbelievable for us, and he needed that to come back. So there's so many kids are disappointed that they're not in the first team at 18, but they don't understand patience, right? There's different ways to the top of the mountain. Some are lucky you go straight up and you run your legs, keep going. Others, you just got to take a slightly wider berth and take a little bit longer to get there. It tastes just as good when you get there.
It does indeed. Not everyone's Wayne Rooney at 16. I think that was quite the debut, wasn't it? Gents, it's flown by. I mean, we're going to get kind of final thoughts. So before we get predictions, just Shaun, how important is it, obviously, that we've said about getting the 3 points, that we see not only, a solid defensive display, but also maybe get a few goals as well?
Very important, especially running into the back end of the season. I think, obviously, now we're in the semi-finals against a strong Nottingham Forest. Although Wembley is more like our second home, we still need to get firing again in front of goal. And I think the team that's out there today, as long as they play on the front foot, create a lot of chances, I think we'll be fine, because in many ways we can kind of go back to the way we used to play, where we're pressing teams high because we have the legs in those positions to do it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the back end of the season, for us, I think the international breaks come up bang on, right? Everyone just go away. Some play football, some just go and sit on a beach.
Yeah.
Pep, go away, go Abu Dhabi, chill.
Yeah.
Come back and bounce into season 25-26 by pulling off 6, 7, 8 wins out of 9, whatever it might be. Pick up a FA Cup, not the trophy we wanted, but pick up a trophy, finish season well, and away we go. We can start to. We're up to get excited about next season, right? But in the meantime, batter Leicester.
There we go. Lovely stuff. And on that then, can I get your predictions, please? I'll come to you. Sean, go on.
I'm going to say we're going to keep a clean sheet today, so I'm going to go for 2-0.
2-0, okay.
5-0.
5-0, that's what we want.
5-0.
We love that from Will Greenwood there. All right, Will Greenwood, thank you. Shaun Wright-Phillips, thank you so much. And also, massive thank you to, as well, Asahi Superdry, of course, who are massive sponsors and support this show. Thank you to you for watching. Go get your commentary on the City app. The boys are in the tunnel, so we'll be back at half-time, and then we're back at full-time. We'll see you then. Last thing for me to say now is, come on, City.
Thank you, Kel. Shouldn't be surprised that Will Greenwood goes for a rugby score. Of course he would. 5-0. Let's see. Well, with an FA Cup semi-final secured at the end of the month, City can now fully focus on their target of Champions League qualification. In one of the tightest tussles in recent memory, only 4 points separate 7 teams, all hoping to grab a top 4 slot. And with Liverpool, Arsenal and Nottingham Forest seemingly out of sight above them, it might be one of those races that goes right down to the final